It's kind of working. Alright everybody, all is fine. Let's take off here from this runway. Our flaps are set at 15 degrees, just like recommended by Boeing. It's time to take off now. All is good. Without any problems, we can rotate at around 140 knots. So everything is good. Yes, we can put the landing gear up. All is fine indeed. And now, since we're up in the air, it's time to slowly put the flaps up right here. Maybe like this. But we soon realize, oh no, something is broken. We have a flap failure. Maybe this is a problem with the electrics or the hydraulics. But something we do know is that the flaps just won't come up. They're set up here and they're failed. Everybody, the flaps being locked at some sort of current position is quite a not very common failure, but it does happen from time to time. See, this is kind of one of 3 ways a flap failure can occur. Maybe your flaps are stuck at a position that was set previously. It's stuck at 15 degrees now, and this is something that you definitely train for in airline pilot training, even in private pilot training. You know, you practically learn that the higher the flap, the higher the speed. Obviously, now at flaps 15, we'll have to land at maybe like 160 knots, or maybe even 190 knots would be all right. Yeah. Quick landing speed. You would normally pick a longer runway in real life so that you're sure to be able to brake. There we go. Despite our failure, we've been able to land. It's now time to stop. All fine. Another very common one is the flap being stuck completely up, so fully retracted. No matter what we do here and set up the flaps, they will not just come out. That's something that happens in real life all the time. You know, when after a cruise flight, the flaps just won't come out. And this is definitely, I mean, I've trained that before in real airplanes, because this can very, very much happen. There we go, landing at 177 knots. Ah, that was okay. That was not too bad. All right, there we go. Yes, just land at a higher airspeed with an approach angle that's maybe a little bit flatter. All fine. But everybody gets really uncomfortable and perhaps even dangerous when we have a situation like this. I'm now putting out the flaps here, as you can hear by my keyboard. And what we're seeing here is the right flap coming out, but the left flap being stuck at the current position of being retracted. And this is something that can happen as well, and is extremely dangerous, as we're about to see, because this plane now can barely fly. We'll of course have to use our aileron to kind of steer against this flap being out. Kind of now act as a control surface, really. We have to steer against it with our rudder and our aileron, and in some cases that won't even be enough, and the airplane gets into a spin. I mean, take a look. It really does look very uncomfortable. Let's take off. Obviously, this is not too realistic. I mean, first of all, who would set the flaps at 40 degrees on takeoff? Also, you wouldn't take off with flaps like this. I'm pretty sure you'd be aware of your airplane being broken. That's what you do the pre-flight checks for. But this can certainly happen while you're on approach. Put out the flaps, and you may not even notice that the left side, for example, right here, is stuck. And we've just hit the engine itself. All right, there we go. We are able to take off, but only quite barely. I'm steering fully counter. Ah! There you go. I have to use a little bit more rudder. Actually, all rudder in order to stay afloat in midair. We have to fight against this huge flap sticking out. Let's maybe see if we can try to... I mean, we are climbing... Ah! All good. We can put the landing gear up. Now, this is not always too fatal. Something you could try to do is try to put that right flap back up. But what if that's also stuck? We now have 2 stuck flaps in a very uncomfortable position. Let's see if we can... land it. I mean, if we let go of the controls, we are immediately in a spin. Jesus Christ, that's quite a bank angle. Now, this is very unlikely to happen, especially in an airliner. You know, they have redundancy systems for that. Obviously, the airline manufacturers are aware of this huge safety threat here. I mean, at high speeds, it's very likely that the vertical stabilizer will be ripped off. You know, whatever I'm doing here, kind of a maneuvers. That's just crazy. All right, it's kind of like drifting in midair all the time. All right, we need more power. It's literally a drift. We're literally drifting. Can you not see this? Very, very nice. All right. I wonder what the best airspeed is here for this kind of configuration. All right. Full on focus. All fine. At 160 knots, this airplane does fly quite well. I mean, at least one of the flaps is out. All right. It's kind of hard to counter steer perfectly. Oh my god, it's genuinely hard not to have a wing strike. That's quite crazy. I mean, that we totally failed. Yeah, it's hard to keep this plane on the runway. This was very strange. Now, while this asymmetrical flaps failure, or also called split flap configuration failure, isn't that common at all, it has led to plane crashes. This was from a governmental Tupolev Tu-154, which was flying in Russia in 2016, and the crash was caused due to, as BBC calls it, the flaps. Panels on the wings that help lift an aircraft were not moving together, which led the pilots to lose control as the plane was at a critical angle. So yes, this I think might have been an asymmetrical flaps failure crash. And well, I do reckon that on mostly older airliners, this is more prone to happen, and especially more prone to be dangerous. This is the 720B, a plane that has huge flaps, as we found out earlier. And oh no, we're gonna set up a fader that's gonna say control surface lock at current, and maybe let's lock the right flaps at this up position here. And then when we go flaps, what is that? Flaps 45 even. So lots of flaps right here. We're probably going to lose control. Especially, there you go. We have a flap indicator that actually shows us, all right, something is wrong. That's kind of nice. We can immediately tell that two flaps are not coming out. The right one, as you can see right here, we only have the left flaps. And actually, it's kind of working. It would just be dangerous if we just didn't notice anything. I mean, you don't always assume that this could happen, and we've oversped everything, and we're gonna die. We're gonna die. We are genuinely dying. I can't do anything against it. All right. This is what happens when you let go of the controls if you don't notice that two of your flaps aren't coming out. Rest in peace. All right, let's try this once again now. Okay. Let's pretend everything's fine. Try to put out the flaps all the way again. All good. And we can see, yes, the two flap indicators are showing. All right, we're about to get into trouble as the flaps are fully extending. We have to fight against it with rudder and with our aileron. But hey, there we go. We can drift again. We can put the landing gear down. Normally in real life, we would definitely try to put the right flaps up, because what we now have to do is probably do a full-on crosswind landing. Look at that. All right, come on, all good. 160 knots. We're absolutely fine. Let's maybe not try to have a wing strike again. Yes, that's time to stop. Time to stop right now. All fine. That was a very hard landing, and even at 100 knots, the airplane is very much leaning to the left because of our flap problem. Everybody, we have done it though. We have. We're very close. Holy moly. All right. There's more wrong with this airplane than flaps now. What? Okay. Interesting there. So everybody, this shows us how important engineering is on airplanes to make redundancy systems so that things don't happen. Pretty sure on a modern Airbus, this could not happen. I assume that the wing will just mechanically avoid some sort of asymmetrical flap setting whatsoever, which is probably good, as we just saw today. So everybody, keep it flappy, and thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow as always. Good night. I have no idea what's going on here. And a special thanks goes out to my members, my supporters: Guns Killer, R27, James Deram, That Dude, Anime Gods of Gaming, Derek, Insider Plane, Nishijitsu Fighter, Professional Jamal, Ryland Williams, and New the York. You've got beautiful names.